Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a fabulous day today. I am back with another watercolor. I'm working with my Mei Liang palette, the Princeton Aqua Elite. I believe that is a number 8 or a number 12 round. And this last sheet of paper I have from a watercolor paper purchase I had a long, long time ago. It was this super cheap cotton paper on Amazon, and it's just okay. But I did enjoy playing with it, and it came in like a giant pack of 50 or 100 sheets or something. And this is the last one, so I just wanted to break it out and do a quick little intuitive watercolor. So I hope you join me today. And for this one, I really wanted to play with some different values, and I was working intuitively, and it ended up turning into this pretty cool, almost like a little rocky landscape. And I really, really enjoyed doing this one, playing with the brush and with the different colors and values and leaving plenty of white space in there. So I started with a brown, and then I went into my yellow and started dropping that in there and just brightening up a few of those areas but leaving the darker spots. And I'm just going to keep adding on little layers. At first I really wasn't sure what I was going to do, but it just sort of started almost making itself, this painting. And I knew I wanted to do a very dark value here, so I just went for it with the black mixed with a little bit of brown. And it really ended up drying nicely, which you'll be able to see a little bit later. But I really enjoyed mixing these values, and then I just started seeing these nice shadowy areas and stuff, so I just kind of kept going with it and played into the shape that just sort of came with my brush strokes and still left those white spaces in there. And then I added a second sort of textured rocky area to the left to kind of help frame it. And in this one I added a little bit of green, which is, where I started kind of thinking about landscapes. So I wanted to just play around with some color. And so I grabbed, I think that was maybe cad orange, and I wanted to make a nice bright sky. And it would almost be like maybe a sunrise or a sunset, but the sun would be kind of coming out from behind these rocks. And so I dipped my brush into some water and really softened it, kind of coming out. And then I wanted to have some blue sky coming in from the top. And so I'm just very, very loose with my brush, adding plenty of water, and it actually has kind of a neat cauliflower effect later, when you'll see it when it dries. But I liked the texture in the blue part of the sky, and it didn't take over the painting. I left plenty of light space because I just really wanted to pump up that brightness back there, since I had so many dark values in the foreground where my little rocky hill is. But while I do this voiceover, and honestly, while I'm painting, it's just really nice to see how the watercolor blends and flows together. And it's just such a great way to do some slow painting, and you just sort of pop down some paint and just watch it and see where it goes. And then after it dries here, you can see, it just did so much moving. And that's one of my favorite things about working really wet and wet, or this is sort of wet on dry because I didn't pre-wet my paper for this painting, but I mixed all my colors while they were wet and dropped color. And so I just love that blending, and it's so hard to control, which is one of the best things about watercolor, actually, that you can't control it all that much. You can control it some, but if you're working wet, it's just hard to tell exactly how it will pull when it dries. And that mystery is just a lot of fun when you get to have that surprise once it's all done drying. So now I'm starting to add in some more texture, a little bit deeper value because it did fade a bit while it dried like watercolor does. So I'm adding in a second layer here at the bottom, and I'm starting with a hard top edge to my little rocky tops, and then I am just using a damp brush to sort of make that fade away as you go down so that it's a soft edge at the bottom. And at this point, I'm just kind of thinking about what kind of colors I want to add here, what I want it to look like. And I want it to be a landscape, but I don't want it to be too over the top or try to make it too detailed. I really, really want it to be loose and fun and just a quick, easy painting. And so I'm going in and adding just a little bit of foliage at the top of my little twigs, or shrubs, I suppose they could be, or grasses or something like that. And I'm still thinking about, sort of the middle area and what I want to do there. And I did decide to put in a tree, but I also wanted to add some color to those rocks, almost like there's a little bit of grass on them or some moss or just something green and you can't really tell what it is. But before I get to that, I'm going to put in sort of my focal point, and this is going to be a tree, and you'll get that high contrast from it being in front of that really bright sunrise, and so you'll get that light and dark, and it is a little bit left of center, and I thought that it was just a really good placement for that one tree. And so I'm doing the same thing, kind of making a dark base for it to sit on. And then I wanted to add a few more branches. So I'm just going to use my brush and do a mixture of brown and Payne's Gray and just have fun making those tree branches. I really love using these brushes to make branches and fine lines because they really have good control, and I'm still getting used to them, but they've been a lot of fun to use for making things like this. So I've been making a lot of trees while I'm using these brushes, but the heart wants what it wants, right? And I think, well, if you have watched it already, I think a couple of videos ago I did some other trees with these brushes, but I've had them probably for maybe a month and a half now, but I did take a little bit of a break with being busy at work, so I haven't really used them a lot, and I've been doing a lot of acrylic painting too, so it's nice to get back into the watercolor, and it's just been very relaxing to get back into the painting and make these videos for you. So now I'm going in with that green like I mentioned a little bit ago, and I'm just sort of picking a few darker areas, and I'm just adding a little bit of a green glaze. And I really like how that looks because it's not something obvious and in your face. It's not something, incredibly textured or anything like that, but it's just that hint of something green and alive that's just sort of growing on that rocky hillside. And it just lets you know that it's a landscape. So, and it just adds a little bit more of that warmth and life to the painting. So I'm going into my tree and I'm just sort of doing a little bit of scumbling motions with my brush to make some foliage, and I'm trying to scatter it a bit so it's not like I have just a line of leaves down one branch. I'm sort of moving it around, making it wider in some spots so it almost could be just some additional leaves on branches. that you can't really see or maybe little, but I just really was not wanting to be overly detailed in this. Just enough to add hints where you know what it is, and I didn't want to take away from other parts of the painting because I really do want this to be an abstract more than anything. And abstracts can be representational, but I like these styles where you don't really have an expectation of realism. And I find that I gravitate toward that no matter what I do. And you can have, just so much opportunity there. But I'm going to give you the close up of this painting, and I hope you give this one a try and you enjoyed this today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep creating.